the current vocabulary that you're expected to know for next week. So I'm going to go over the vocabulary first. The first one's going to be Cortés, Conquistador, smallpox, Montezuma the second, Tlaxcalans, Mexico City, La Malinche, colonialism, Hispaniola, the three G's, gold, God, glory, and Bartolome de las Casas. So I'm going to go over all of these. Your goal is to continue to add information to the vocabulary term. So you will have questions on Edpuzzle that's going to ask you to add information about certain things or certain people. So the first one we're going to focus on is Cortés. Fernando Cortés was a Spanish conquistador, right? He was from Spain. He was born in Spain, and his goal was to explore and to conquer certain areas for the Spanish crown, right? He was in it for a number of reasons. One was to become rich, become wealthy. That's the gold. Another one was for glory. He wanted fame, right? He wanted to be known as someone that did something big. And the last one, I don't think this is the most relevant one, but the God, right? He wrote to the king of Spain saying how he wanted to convert the Christians to Christianity. So there's a couple things you need to know about him. One, he's from Spain. He's a conquistador. He doesn't always obey his superiors, right? He's asked to go back to Hispaniola, and we'll talk about Hispaniola in a second, and he disobeys that order. He ends up getting together with a woman named Doña Marina, who becomes his partner, but also his translator. And he is successful in defeating the Aztecs. Now, we don't know if it's because of sheer luck or because he was a good warrior or a good leader. It's probably a combination of many things that he won. Luck, the diseases that they brought, and then he got a lot of help from the Native Americans that disliked the Aztecs. Here we're gonna do. So this is just an image that I found on Google. We have Cortés, and then we have Doña Marina, who becomes his partner, and they actually eventually do have kids. Okay, so the big thing about Cortés is that he conquers the Aztecs. He's Spanish, he's a conquistador. Conquistador simply means conqueror in Spanish. Okay, again, on the Edpuzzle video, I will ask that you add certain information to the vocabulary words. Okay, the next one is conquistador. Conquistador simply means conqueror, right? Conquistador. Conquistador means conqueror in Spanish, and he wasn't the only conquistador. Francisco Pizarro was the conquistador that conquered the Inca in South America. So conquistador is just a Spanish word for conqueror, and Cortés is a conquistador. The next one's going to be smallpox. Now, smallpox is a disease. I'm not going to look it up because I don't want to creep you out. Smallpox is a disease that the Europeans brought to the New World, and the Native Americans did not have immunity to it. Their bodies had never been exposed to this disease. So when they got it, their bodies couldn't handle it, and a lot of them ended up dying. And that is one of the reasons that Cortés was able to defeat the Aztecs. And another reason why Pizarro was able to defeat the Inca in South America. These diseases killed about 90% of the population. And it's not like the Europeans brought it in and used it on purpose. It's just a disease that they had, right? And the Aztecs did not have immunity to it. So this definitely impacted the conquest of the Aztecs because it killed the vast majority of them. The next word is Montezuma. Now, Montezuma is an interesting one. He is the emperor. He was the king when Cortés showed up, right? He's the king that allowed Cortés to enter Tenochtitlan. He was the king that got kidnapped by Cortés. And without the king ordering an attack, the Aztecs could not attack the Europeans. We don't know how Montezuma died, but he did die, right? There was another emperor after Montezuma. I think his name was Cuauhtemoc. but he was more like a figurehead. He was fully controlled by Cortez. But Montezuma II is the last emperor, the last real emperor of the Aztecs. He was born in, the Aztec Empire. He is not European, obviously. He is an Aztec person. And he eventually died, and we don't know exactly how he died, but we know that he definitely died. He was the king of the Aztecs. He was considered a living god. Yeah. The next one is going to be Tlaxcalans. Now, Tlaxcalans were a group of people that were subjugated. If you remember that word, subjugated. This one, they were subjugated by the Aztecs, right? And they were forced to pay tribute. They were forced to pay money to the Aztecs yearly, and they were also sacrificed by the Aztecs. So when the Europeans showed up, they were willing to help the Europeans. They were willing to help the Spanish because they disliked the Aztecs, right? They disliked the Aztecs and did not want to deal with this group of people anymore. The problem with that is that although the Aztecs treated them badly, the Europeans are probably going to do the same or worse. If you look at this image, here you have the Europeans on horseback, right? We have metal weapons, and then here you have some other Native Americans. These might be the Tlaxcalans, and these might be the Aztecs. So the Europeans allied themselves with Tlaxcalans against the Aztecs. Let me see if I can find a map of where the Tlaxcalans were located. So Tenochtitlan is here, where my mouse is. Here's Tlaxcala, right? Cortez map. Let's look at this one. Hernando Cortez. So Cortez comes from, obviously, the Old World. He comes from this area here, Spain, right? He lands in Hispaniola. You have to know where Hispaniola is, and then he goes into Tenochtitlan. And on the way, he's able to talk to people who dislike the Aztecs and who want to get rid of the Aztecs just as much as they do. So that's the Tlaxcalans, right? They are a group of people that will help the Europeans, will help Cortez defeat the Aztecs. Mexico City is a modern city. Mexico City is a modern city, and if I can zoom out of this bad boy. So Mexico City is in the center of Mexico, pretty much, located right there. And it's a huge city. And this city sits on top of what used to be Tenochtitlan. So Tenochtitlan is literally underneath this big city. Xochimilco is, where is it? Xochimilco's here somewhere. I just zoomed in, but I can't find it now. Xochimilco, come on, Xochimilco, where are you? It's here somewhere. I can't find it. I might have to go do Google Earth. Not there. Xochimilco is, you can see it here on this side. A little bit of the lake is still there. A little bit of the lake is still in Mexico. Let's go Google Earth. In Mexico City, you're still able to visit part of it, but for the most part, it's been built on top of. So if you go to Mexico City today, that is literally if you go to Mexico City today, you're literally standing on top of the old Aztec capital. So let's go to Xochimilco, and there should be a lake here somewhere. There's no lake. Where are you, little lake? Oh, here they are. So this is part of the lake still, okay? Here you're able to see Chinampas. This is still the Chinampas are still there. Chinampas are still there, right? You can take some boats here, and you're able to travel on there. Okay, so next one will be La Malinche. And if you remember, La Malinche is another name given to Doña Marina. La Malinche is that woman that became Cortez's partner, Cortez's wife. I don't know if they got married, but that helped Cortez defeat the Aztecs. She has a history in Mexico. She has a bit of a history as being seen as kind of like a traitor because she helped the Europeans defeat the people of Mexico. What else can we say about La Malinche? She was born in the New World. She's from Mexico, the area where the Aztecs ruled. She was able to speak some Spanish because she had learned it from someone else. And she also spoke the language of the Aztecs, which is Nahuatl. Okay, so La Malinche. Here you might see her. So here's Montezuma. Here are the other Aztecs. Here's Cortez, and here's La Malinche. Okay, so I don't even know what that is, but it's not relevant. Okay, the next one's going to be colonialism. Now, colonialism has to do with the word colony. Colonialism is when a more powerful country or empire takes over a smaller one or less powerful and makes it a colony. For example, in the United States, when we started the United States, before it became the United States, we were a colony of England, right? They control what became the United States, the 13 original colonies. Usually it's through conquest, through war. For example, Mexico became colonized by the Spanish, right? Central America became colonized by the Spanish. Much of South America became colonized by the Spanish. Brazil became colonized by Portugal. What became the United States before it was the United States was colonized by England. So colonization goes back to colony, where you are taking over a certain area and controlling it, right? You are controlling who lives there. You're controlling how much tax people pay. You're controlling what kind of government they have. So you are in full control, right? Colonization, the action of process of settling among and establishing control over indigenous people. So, for example, Australia was colonized by England, right? India was colonized also by England. Okay, so colonization has to do with controlling certain areas and setting certain expectations. For example, Africa was colonized by the Europeans, right? South Africa was colonized by England, so a lot of people in South Africa speak English. In Mexico, a lot of people speak Spanish, right, because they were colonized by Spain. A lot of people are Catholic because that's what the religion of Spain was. Same thing with South America. When I say, so we have North America and South America language. Let's look at languages. So if we look at South America, you see all this orange. The reason why it's orange is because it was colonized by Spain, right? A lot of people here are also Catholic because it was the religion brought by the Europeans. This green area, that's Brazil. A lot of people speak Portuguese. That's the main language because it was colonized by Portugal, right? Same thing with these areas here. So let's look at North America. I can't spell. North America language map. This area, you can't even see this that well. That's not a good image. The United States, a lot of it was colonized by England, so we speak English, right? Certain parts were colonized by Spain. Therefore, Spanish is more of a historically appropriate there. For example, a lot of California was colonized by Spain, so you have Spanish names like Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. Those are all Spanish names. San Rafael. Okay. Again, colonization refers to usually a powerful country, powerful empire overtaking certain areas and dominating it. All right, let's go on to the next one. Now, Hispaniola. Hispaniola was one of the first settlements of of Spain. And it's, if you click on here, I know this is Wikipedia, I never have you use Wikipedia, but I'm gonna use it here because I like this map. So Hispaniola, the easiest way to find Hispaniola is find Florida. Florida's right here. And then it's this big, not this big island, but the one right next to it. Okay, so Florida, this is Cuba, it's the country next to it, okay? In Hispaniola, you have to be able to find that on the map, but you also need to know what countries it makes up, right? You need to know what countries, what modern day countries make up Hispaniola, and it is Haiti and the Dominican Republic. So Hispaniola is one large island. I don't know how large it is, but it's one large island divided in two. The one on the west, this one, is Haiti, and the one on the east is the Dominican Republic. Okay. Let me see if I can find another map that is a little clearer for you. I don't think I'll be able to find one. So again, Hispaniola was a colony, again, going back to that word, colony of Spain, right? And this is where Cortés landed at first. This is where he landed after he came from, he left Spain and he landed in Hispaniola, and then from Hispaniola he went to Mexico. Hernando Cortés routes map. So if you look at, let's look at the images for this guy. So here, you see how he takes off from Hispaniola? Actually, he went to Cuba too. He went from, did he land in Cuba? No, so he went from Spain, then he went to Hispaniola, then he went to Cuba, and then Mexico. So he stopped in Cuba before he went to Mexico. That's Hispaniola. You see? Let's see. I need a better map. It's hard to see these maps. I'm trying to find one that, so this one shows Hispaniola. So he definitely went to Hispaniola. And then after Hispaniola, he went to Cuba, okay? You need to know the two countries that make up Hispaniola, though. Okay, so the three G's are gold, God, and glory. Now, you can't just say gold, God, and glory. What is gold? Gold refers to the concept of the Europeans came here to make money. They came here to make a lot of money, to exploit, to get gold, silver, slaves, food, and also a market to sell the stuff that they're going to bring, right? So gold refers to making money, becoming wealthy. Gold, God refers to converting the Native Americans to Christianity, right? The Native Americans were not Christian. They had never heard of Christianity before. And the Europeans saw it as their duty to convert the Native Americans to Catholicism, to Christianity. And then glory refers to like having your name be written in the books, right? Becoming famous and becoming this incredible human being, explorer. Bartolome de las Casas was a Franciscan friar. Now, when I say Franciscan friar, you probably think Francisco and friar like something you fry like a pan. No, he's a priest. A friar is a priest. And he wrote about how the Europeans mistreated the Native Americans, right? He was more for treating them more kindly, and he described how the Europeans mistreated the Native Americans. Let me see if I can find a primary source or some source that talks about his description of the Native Americans. This is not going to work out. This is really long, and this is also in Spanish. So he wrote in Spanish. So he was Spanish, and he was a priest. So for this one, I might have you find something on this friar and write some like a quote or a primary source about not a primary source, but describe what he wrote. So his big one is a brief account of the destruction of the Indies. So I might link this one so you guys to preview it. But he wrote mainly how the Europeans were being destructive and very, very abusive towards the natives. Right? He saw it in his heart that he was one of these people, that he did it because of this one God. Right? He wanted to convert the Native Americans to Christianity, because he thought that you need to accept Jesus as your savior in order to go to heaven. Again, in this video, I didn't go over everything, so you will be required to do some of the review, because I know that some of you guys haven't done the vocabulary yet, and you have a quiz coming up. For those of you guys wondering, this is the vocabulary for next week that you'll be having. You'll have this vocab for 2 weeks, and then you'll be quizzed on it. There's a couple things that the vocab that you're going to be learning. We're going to go back a little bit to other words. We're going to be learning Gothic again, feudalism. We're going to be learning some of those words because they are going to be relevant to the next unit. Again, your quiz is on Monday and most likely Tuesday, and you'll be taking 3 quizzes.